Hello everyone, this is Naomi Denmother of EQ2 Traders Corner with the third and final video for Game Update 109, Mischief and Mayhem. These items that I will be showing you now will be part of the research done by the server-wide public researchers. They will unlock as recipes on the vendors as each is researched, and these are the final products that you get once you do that research. A few of them are also quest updates from the crafting line that is available with this game update. And I will try to show you all the special little perks on all of these. Some of them can be seen better than others. I will start with this little thing here. And you see these little colored sparkles, not the colored... Rewinding. I'm going to get rid of this thing because it's doing all these sparkles and it's getting confusing which sparkles there are. Noble Chandelier of Light. If you've been into the center of a T3 Antonica Guild Hall, you will see larger versions of these lights in that center room in the Guild Hall. So now we have our own version of the chandelier. It is a light source. I've got this at daylight, so it's not as easy to see, but it's easier on my eyes. It is a light source. It does resize. This is the default size, so let's, max and large, it's in the floor. Let's see if I can fix that a little bit here. Too much crowded stuff here, so let's up. Come on, up more than usual. Can't see it up there though. Yeah, this isn't going to work from this angle, and I don't want to fuss with it. I lost my tile, and I've lost my cursor because the cursor was still trying to place way up in the sky. Anyway, it's very large. I'm getting myself distracted because I'm very tired. It can get bigger than the one in the Guild Hall. Then we have the dark glowing chandelier. It's not as big a light source. It doesn't give off as much light, and the light is a little more blue-white, but it is a cute little light. And as you can see, as I move it around, you can see that it is lighting up the area that it is in. That is the default size. Maximum size is like that. Almost looks like a plant pot, doesn't it? A hanging plant pot? You could do that, especially at that size. No collision though, so you want to be aware of that. You can walk through it. You don't really usually worry about collision on lights, but I know some people are creative. And on the smallest size, it's pretty doggone tiny. And now that you've removed those light sources, you can see this one is showing that, yes, indeed, it is a light source as well. So this is the natural blooming chandelier. Pretty little sparkles coming off of it. Shrinks down pretty nicely. Once again, enlarges big enough that it's going to sink into the ground because of where I placed this tile. So that's a decent size. Now we'll go over to the stool and get it out of the way, because this is also one of the quest rewards. This is called a Fayfly stool, and all these little gold and red circles of light, not that shooting star you see in the background, but all these little sparkles that you see coming up from the stool and floating around are the Fayflies. So that is an effect on this stool. You want to be aware of that, because if you're just using it as a stool, you're going to have all sorts of funny sparkles all over the place and not understand where they came from. This is where they came from. Now you know. This one's fun. It's Tock's Tinkered Tinker Station. It is not a functional workstation. That's why it says this item is for decoration only. However, I want to show you something. Okay, that's at its smallest size. You wouldn't want to use that for the workstation. But if you enlarge it up, you could sink a workbench down underneath there so that it's functional. It'd take a little bit of work, but I know you folks are good at that sort of thing, so there you go. This is max and large. I mean, you could actually try to, let's see how much collision there is. Okay, the cog in the middle is not solid. The outer ring is. So you're not going to get to ride on it like you would a merry-go-round, unfortunately. But it's a good size. You could stick a workstation in there quite easily. Okay, next we'll do this one. This is a floating sconce that is floor placed, people. As you can see, it's just got this little bunch of light in the middle. And let me move it over here so that it's actually shedding light on things, because it is a light source. That is the default size for it. That's max shrink. If you hid the bottom of it, you could actually have it as a bottle, except that that is rotating slowly, as you can see. So, you know, it's not quite a great bottle of fireflies or anything like that, but I'm sure you can find uses. There, when it's on max and large, you can see the movement a little better. It does bob slowly up and down a bit, as well as the two center gold pieces rotating a bit. So that's the floating sconce light source. And yes, we have a lot of light sources here. I love it. Next is the metallic glowing brazier, which is also a light source. A rather smoky one, but it's a light source. So you may have places where you want fire. This is a good thing for it. You can sink those legs into the ground if they're distracting. Max shrink, knee-high to a halfling, or waist-high to a halfling about. Max and large, yeah, it's a little tall. You're not going to run through there. It's solid enough, though the legs aren't individually defined enough that you could get in there, but it's pretty solid. Then we have this brazier with a nice little blue light to it. The Azure Glowing Brazier. Don't you go trying to cook any halflings in there. I know Lucosia is thinking about it. She likes cooking humans too much. Not even just humans, humanoids. Let me move this out a little so it's not being eaten by the wall. It makes for a very decent size bowl of glowing light if you so desire. You shrink it down. It could definitely be used as a bowl. Might be a little big if you're a halfling or a short race, but it still has some uses other than just as a light source. All right, we have 2 baskets of blueberries and cranberries. Let me move them over a bit so that they're not directly under that light source. It's quite the glare on them if they're too brightly lit. As you can see, there's not a lot of definition on those berries. So if on max and large, it's probably going to look a little weird unless you flip them or something like that. They get really big. And then the max shrink is more a halfling size, well, not a halfling, a gnome-sized basket of berries. A halfling could eat that in seconds flat. So that's what those look like when they're made big and small. Let's slide that over. Boom, let there be light. Noble Sconce of Light. It is a light source. A multicolored one, but it is a light source. Max shrink gets very tiny. Max enlarge is, well, very large. And there's no collision. So that is something to be aware of on that. We're starting to get more labels like light source, collision, no collision. But this already has the light source label. It does not get the no collision label as well, or else we'd end up with like mile-long item names. Then this, yes, it is a light source. And it's perfect for things like a Huaming Retreat or Village of Shin or something like that. And it is the tall bamboo light lamp, which is a light source. It's a lot of lights in the name, but oh well. Max shrink, it's still taller than a halfling. Max enlarge, very large. And also you could flip it, hide the light source altogether, and you've got a nice long pole for something. I know somebody in Home Show was looking the other day for something that could be used as a proper stick. And well, that would work if you buried the top. But it's very good on resizing. Now we come to what's been doing that distracting shooting star. And it is a shooting star shrubbery. I'm going to back up a bit and look how huge that arc is. I mean, this is a T3 Guildhall. That is default size. And it arcs that much. It was arching over the balcony in the Guildhall when I had it inside. It was very amusing to see. So this is the default size. Not a lot of definition, but boy, is that a beautiful effect. Now we are going to max enlarge it. It really gets blobby, but you could bury it and just watch the shooting star go through. And interestingly, the shooting star does not change size or height. It's got a certain defined arc no matter what size the shrub is, so that's very good to know, so that you could do something like max shrink it and stuff it in something else, inside something else, to hide it, and just have the star shooting out. And that's max shrink. Looks better at that size. And that is really neat effect for that shooting star. When they first arrived, the two shrubs did not have any effects on them, and it were a little disheartening because they are kind of blobby. Now, there is no sound that goes with this. I know somebody asked before, so I will reiterate. There is no sound on the Singing Crimson Shrubbery, but there are these little musical notes circling around. It's rather subtle, but, you know, not everything has to be knocked down wow factor. I like them. So there's max shrink. And there's max enlarge. The notes do enlarge to go with the shrub. But again, there's no sound with it. Which is kind of nice because, well, sounds are hard to integrate with other things. All right, let's move this one next. As you can see, it's a pretty decent light source. And this is the light standing lamp light source. And that's as opposed to the, what's that one called? Light bent lamp, which we'll get to in a moment. So this is the light standing lamp. Looks almost like a cord apple as that little rotating light on the top there. And this is default size. This is max shrink. Still taller than a halfling because of that base. And if you don't like the base, well, you can always bury the base in something so that you've just got the pole. And then let's go for the gusto. Yeah, it's a little big. You will definitely not have problems lighting up an area with that, and it's looking rather solid. So this one is nice and solid, at least for the base. And it can get very large. Let's move the other one over now. So this is the light vent lamp because it bends over just a little more. Lots more curvy curly cues and so forth. As you can see, the center is animated. It is providing light. If I get it away, you'll see the difference. It's not great for light at distances, but close up, yes, it lights things up nicely. Shrink it down, it's just a little taller than a halfling, and it is solid. Enlarge it, and well, yeah, it's a little big. So it will fit various sizes of designs. Make you feel like you're in Lilliput or something. We got a lot of lovely light sources here. It's great, I love it. Okay, this one doesn't need anything special. It's the Great Helm Centerpiece. And it's not solid. But it's a kind of creepy looking helm. It will work well for certain design styles, I'm sure. Max shrink, still almost as tall as a halfling. And if you're really feeling like you need something big and imposing and giant-sized, there you go. But again, it's not solid. The light glowing sconce light source. And yes, the names do get a little confusing after a while because there's so many light. But on the flip side, it is wonderful to have these many different light sources. We've been wanting them for a while, and we got them, which is a very happy thing. The ball in the center rotates, as you can see. It is solid. I will bump up against it. Max shrink, pretty tiny. Max enlarge. The ball in the center is almost as big as Niami. There we go. Get it out of the way. Put that down where I can reach it a little better. And that's the glowing hand sconce light source. And it is a nice little light source. I can't wait till the research unlocks on that one. It's just pretty. Gets pretty small. And yep, it has collision. And then it can get ginormous. Very nice looking. All right, let's move these so that they're in order. There's type 1, there's type 2. They're wall shield emblems in a tin color and a golden color, or bronze. That is default size. Doesn't seem like there's collision with them, or it does seem like there is collision with them. There's your max enlarge. Yep, I'm bumping up against it. And here's your max shrink. So you can use those as you will. We have 3 bases. So We have the Velium Pottery Tall. And if I can hit the right key, the Velium Pottery Round, which is this one to my left now. So that's the left is the round, to the right is the tall, and then the short. They are solid. They make decent vases, either for larger arrangements or for small rows of arrangements. Give you an idea of sizing. They can go pretty small, they can go large enough to hide several halflings in them. Show you with this one. It's a rather large inkwell, but you could use that with the Red Shiny collection that has the peacock feather. You could make your own inkwell. That's the inkwell, and then the feather is stuck in it. Another light. Yes, you've seen this artwork before, but you have not seen it as a light source, which is what this one is. Not a hugely bright light source compared to some of the others, but it does shed light. Max Shrink, slightly shorter than Halfling. Max Enlarge, considerably taller than a Halfling. It does have collision. All right, let's do the pie next. Overcooked Jum Jum Pie. Mum did not burn it. It is not my fault. Really, it isn't. But you can see that's quite a bit of smoke coming off that pie. It almost obscures the pie. You could very easily hide the pie in something and just have the smoke coming out. And you could have quite a bit of smoke. Or just a little bit of smoke. So it does size nicely. Then we have Lucosia's humanoid recipes. Lucosia is infamous for trying to cook gnomes and halflings and other things to eat. She's got quite the varied palette, shall we say. So let's move the books down there. They are solid. You can stand on them. You can place other things on them. They can get pretty tiny. And they can get rather big. Excuse me a moment. Get the floating off so that I can jump properly. There you go. Solid enough to dance on. And that has cleared off this counter. So we can show that next. It's a great stone counter. And the other one is the great covered stone counter. So the covered one has a cover. Imagine that. Max Shrink versus default size. Max Enlarge, should you so desire it. And as you can see, it is solid. I'm not walking through that anytime soon. Before I pack this one away, we'll show off the little plates. We have a flat clay plate and a flat silver plate. And flat is the top of them, not the fact that they are kind of hollowed out, so they're not as flat as wording would seem. It's that small. And gets big enough so that you can see, yes, it is more of a flattened bowl with a nice wide thick rim on it. But decent enough to use for dishes. Let's get you a better look at this other one. shrunken down pretty tiny. And then this will make it easier to see the design on it. Max Enlarge. Not quite enough shape to it to use it as a hat, but it's close. All right, we'll put that away. The chairs are very dark, so you want them in a lit area if you want to actually be able to see much definition on them. And the first is the Throne of Past Kings. Does not look like a comfortable throne to sit on, but I'm not the one that needs to sit on it, so I won't worry about it too much. Shrink down, that's the max shrink it'll do, and yes, it is solid. Maybe a little more solid than I like. I'm not sure if I can actually jump onto the seat. Let's get it bigger. See if I can climb up on there. Yep, I can. Okay, that's what I wanted to check. Max Enlarge. It's a rather big. Next we have the Pointed Emerald Throne, and yes, it does have this funky little thing on the side here. Let me give you a better look at it. I don't know if it's supposed to be a cup holder. It's probably supposed to be a standard holder. You know, one of those banners on a pole that you would stick in there to show, yes, this is somebody important, here are his colors or something like that. I assume that's what that was originally for. Now it's just a funky little thing off to the side that is just sort of there. Either figure out something to do with it or make sure this one goes against a wall or something else eats that up. Max Shrink. And Max Enlarge. And it's not solid from the bottom. It's eaten Yami's head. Okay, now that I'm out from under it, I can't go back under without crouching or something like that. But you could place it over somebody and they would get stuck because that seat is not solid from the bottom. But you can see it's on some sort of casters, and that cup holder, standard holder, whatever it is, gets rather large too. And that's enough of that. You've seen this design around before, but never as a nice multicolored light source. It is a light source. It is taller than a halfling. It does have some very nice detailing on it. There you go. That's the default size. Max Shrink. And I'm trying to stand on it. Don't ask me why. We do not need roast halfling tonight. No. So that's Max Shrink. And then Max Enlarge. Those are nicely multicolored flames coming out of it. But I don't need to feel any shorter than I already am. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, let's move that over to there. It is a sconce that makes me think a lot of the Lumbra with all that heavy gold work. I would not be surprised if they had something to do with this design. I'll move it down a bit. As you can see, yes, it is lighting things up. It is a light source. That is default size on it. Max Shrink, it's pretty small. Max Enlarge. Can you say ginormous? Can you say not solid? There you go. So it is not solid, but again, they don't always expect that we're going to do strange things with light sources that we need them solid for. It is a very nice light source, though. All right, that was what I was grabbing, but it'll work. I'm going to pick this one up to show you the placement on it. I do not need that. I need this. When it originally arrived on beta, it was sunken into the ground about halfway, and you had to manually move it up. It has been fixed. As you can see, it also slowly bobs up and down, and it is a rather bright light source, especially if you stick it against a wall like that. That is the default size. That's max shrink. Still almost as tall as a halfling with all that bobbing around. And that's max enlarge. It's easier on the eyes if you look at it from way back here. Then it has some personality. You get too close and it's like, the light! The light, it hurts us, master! Bright light, bright light! Things Mom says when she's tired, yes. This is what I was trying to grab before. As you can see, you can't hear that because of the way I've got my mic set up, but it has a low roaring sound from those crackling flames. It's not really meant as a light source. It isn't a light source. It's just kind of creepy. It'll fit very nicely in some evil spots, I'm sure. But it's got a definite crackling flame sound. This is the smallest size, slightly smaller than Niami. It has collision, as you can see. I would not recommend it as a foot warmer, though, like Niami just tried. And since it's solid, are things you could do if you buried the top on the bottom, but you'd still have to deal with that flame sound. It's only noticeable if you're close to it that you hear the sound. This one does not do a lot, but it is red light. As you can see, it changed that wall quite a bit. But it's a definite reddish tinge to it. It is a light source, though. It's the lit orb of war. It is solid. It is tiny when you shrink it down. It's rather ginormous when you enlarge it. But that gives you some nice look at the detailing on it. Getting down to the last few here. And this is the lit brazier of war. It is a light source. And it's a yellowish flame light. It's not quite a pure white light like some of the others, but it's a nicely detailed light source. And it's nowhere near as noisy as that fiery skull thing. Slightly shorter than a half length, but not by much when it's shrunk. Max enlarge is quite large and solid. And as you can see, it has V's and circles with dots in them around the edges, or around the center. Two to go. This one is a light source, but it's not a big item, so it doesn't give a lot of light. And it is the dark glowing brazier light source. So this is the default size. It looks almost like a sword hilt got cut off. Very possibly could have been at one point, you never know. So that's default size. There's maximum shrink. And there's max and large. It is solid, it does have collision. Bonk, bonk. And it can grow to a decent size. And last but not least, we have the light glowing lamp light source. And yes, it is pouring out a decent amount of light as long as you're close to it. It doesn't glow as much from a distance, but it's still there. But it definitely is at its best when you're close to it. So that's default size. Max shrink, it's about as high as a halfling. And that's max and large. And it is solid, you can clamber around on it. And bump your head on the support there. And that's it. I will have these up shortly, and when I do, I will put in the notes field on the videos on YouTube information with the links to the write-ups that go with these, so that you know exactly how to get all of these and research them and so on and so forth and so forth. It's a lot of details. We've been working crazy hours trying to get all of this stuff sorted out and as unbuggy as possible, and I hope you enjoy it all. This is Naomi Denmother signing off.